All right, guys, back on Southeastern 16 with Max Barr previewing a Wednesday night slate in SEC basketball. And there are three games: Ole Miss at South Carolina, Oklahoma at Missouri, LSU at Arkansas. Max, we start with another interesting matchup in Columbia. You don't say that South Carolina may try to make it close against a top 25 team. Ole Miss coming in, number 19 in the country. This one 6 p.m. Central Time on Wednesday on the SEC network. And Ole Miss coming off that close call at LSU. Maybe in a sense, Max, that's a good thing because now Chris Beard gets them a little more focused heading into this matchup against the South Carolina team that we know still winless in the SEC. But we've said how many close games they played at home at this point. When you look at it, a 3-point home loss to Auburn, 1-point home loss to Florida, 5-point home loss in overtime to Mississippi State, 4-point home loss to Texas A&M. So what you're saying is the Gamecocks are due. But still kind of a fascinating matchup here, Max, for that reason, because we said South Carolina's going to get somebody. You got Ole Miss coming off of a not-so-great performance on the road at LSU. Who knows here?
They got to get somebody, right? I am nervous. I am nervous for the Rebels in this one. They're coming off of the Gamecocks. That is coming off of a poor performance. Now you're getting the bounce back game at home, and it's a Wednesday game. It's not a Tuesday game. You got an extra day. Mm-hmm. Get the students a little riled up. Come on, guys. We're gonna steal one. I'm telling you, we're gonna steal one. Show up. A little bit nervous here. Ken Pom has this projected as a 5-point win for Ole Miss. I don't have the exact against the spread numbers on South Carolina, but I'll tell you that their past 3 home games, they've definitely covered the spread. I would say definitely 4, because it's a 3-point loss to Auburn, the 1 point to Florida, 5-point to Mississippi State, 4-point to A&M. I'm pretty sure that's 4 straight covers at home for the Gamecocks. And if this one is around 5, Blake, you've got about 4 points to work with here, Rebels. So, yeah, I'm nervous for this one. I think this is going to be right down to the wire, Blake.
So what are the chances this game reaches the 80s? I'm going to go 0.2%. What are the chances this game reaches the 70s is what I'm maybe most interested in, because I think this is one that will be kind of a grind. And, not just from a play style standpoint. I think we know how good Ole Miss is defensively. But we do look at how South Carolina has played at home defensively, and they've been better. And so I think it's one of those things where it's really just a matter of, if you're talking the big difference between these two, obviously there are some statistical differences with the Ole Miss defense and South Carolina offense. South Carolina has been the worst team in the SEC in offensive efficiency, effective field goal percentage, turnovers, 3-point percentage, 2-point percentage. I mean, that's just, the numbers are what they are. And again, that's certainly one of the reasons why they're 0-10. But if you look at it from just a personnel matchup, the Ole Miss guards versus the South Carolina guards, I think, is going to be the one area where people are like, all right, this is maybe, a bit of a clear advantage for the Rebels, just because we've talked about they're an older group. We've mentioned, look at what Sean Padula does on a night-in, night-out basis. Like, Morrell's been playing for however many years, and you just keep going down the line. Meanwhile, we've talked about a little bit of the up-and-down nature of the South Carolina backcourt, and I think, to me, it's pretty simple here. We know that Colin Murray-Boyles is going to have to be a big factor for South Carolina to have a chance to win, but, I mean, to me, it's like, hey, if the South Carolina guards don't take care of the ball, this is going to be one where, trying to get to 50 against this Ole Miss team may be a big issue.
Yeah, Blake, while you were talking, I was trying to go back through Ole Miss's past few games and see when the last time they won the rebounding battle is. And yeah. I'm still going back. I still have not found the last time. I'm on 8 games. Could be, I don't know how many it is. But the reason I bring that up is because of what you just mentioned with Murray-Boyles and Pringle and what we've seen them do to opposing front courts that are much more physical than Ole Miss's. Now, Ole Miss does some schematic stuff that makes it tough to even get a clean look inside, get a clean entry pass. They make it tough to even get into that position. But if Murray-Boyles does, if Pringle does, they definitely have a path here to kind of impose in their physicality inside. And when you're talking about finding ways for a team that ranks dead last in a 16-team conference in offense, we're going to take all the extra possessions we can get. We're going to take all those scrappy inside putbacks that we can get. If this thing is going to be, like you said, probably in the 60s, those are the baskets in a 5-point game. That is what you need to pull off one of these home games and steal one. Would be, I'm looking right at those offensive rebounds with Murray Boyles and Pringle.
All right. Are you going to do it?
Are you going to do it?
I don't know. You always go first. It's up to you first. Let's see if you're going to do it.
I think this is a really good chance too. And it's mid-February. I kind of just want to have some fun and just go out on a limb. I really do. I can't do it. I'm going Ole Miss, but man, I really think they got a shot here.
I want to do it too, but I think the old guards, as we always talk about, I think are probably the difference here. And I do like I trust the guard group more for Ole Miss, even. And we were kind of joking earlier about the whole. It's a good thing they just had the LSU game, but I do actually think it's a good thing they just had the LSU game, because I think that gets you a little more focus. If they went out and beaten LSU by 15 or something, and you just keep kind of cruising into this one, maybe. But I think that sort of performance can be a bit of a wake up call, and so I will say that might wind up being the difference here. But again, man, South Carolina's going to get somebody, and we probably won't predict it to happen, but somebody somewhere I think South Carolina's going to beat. But I'm going to go Ole Miss too on this one. All right, next up in this one we have Oklahoma traveling to Columbia to play Missouri. That's an 8 p.m. Central tip on the SEC Network. We mentioned. Tough week for Missouri. I don't even know if you would call it that. I mean, they lost, like we said, back-to-back games to Tennessee and Texas A&M by a combined 7 points. Played really well, I thought, for the most part in both of those games, except for that, bad stretch to start against A&M. But I don't really, like I said, they're on a 2-game losing streak here. I don't feel any worse about Missouri. Meanwhile, for Oklahoma, they're also on a 2-game losing streak, and their results are a little bit different, as they lost that game 98-70 at Auburn, and then lost 70-52 at home against Tennessee. So this is one, Max, we talked about it. I mean, Missouri has just been so good at home. Lost their first home game of the season to Texas A&M. Meanwhile, for Oklahoma, they are kind of in that danger zone now, where they've got to start finding, I think, some wins. Not even just call them good wins, but like they just got to start winning some games. 3-7 in the SEC after that 13-0 start. There's plenty, I think, that stands out about this sort of matchup, and when you just kind of compare these two teams, especially looking at what they do on the offensive side of the floor.
So for me, these two teams, compared to January 4th, when we hadn't played any SEC games yet, I feel like Missouri has really risen, and I feel like Oklahoma, maybe not really, but has taken a step back, right? When you look at the KenPom ranks, on January 4th, Missouri was 52nd. Right now, they are 24th. So checks out. They've pretty much doubled. They've taken a big jump in conference play. Oklahoma on January 4th was 40th. Today, they're 36th. So in my mind, I have this notion that Oklahoma has just fallen off a cliff near, not exaggerating, but they've really taken a step back when the analytics have told you they've actually improved a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's all about perspective. The reason I bring that up is because I feel like in my mind, these two teams are on opposite ends, but this is going to be a 6, 7, maybe 8-point spread. Going to be single digits. And Oklahoma's a team that can shoot, just like Missouri's a team that can shoot. And I saw a few comments in our live after the Texas A&M game, and Missouri fans were like, I love living by the 3, but I don't really like when we die by it. It's not as fun. Well, that's what Oklahoma does also. So you kind of have a high variance matchup here.
Yeah, not as exciting when you're not making the 3-point shots. And I think that kind of goes back to Oklahoma. If you look at kind of one of the common themes when we talk about some of the games they've lost, right? I mean, I mentioned against Tennessee, they just couldn't shoot it very well. 6 of 23 from three, 7 of 23 from three against Auburn, 5 of 16 against Texas. That game they lost at home. 7 of 27 against Georgia, 5 of 19 against Alabama. Now they did shoot it well against A&M that first time around, 14 of 24. But I mean, that's kind of been. And actually, they shot it well against A&M both times, which is kind of wild. They shot 14 of 24 and 10 of 22. But that's the thing. I think if you're talking about this Oklahoma team, we mentioned like look at the run they went on against Vanderbilt, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it was kind of one of those things where all of a sudden it's a close game and then they win by 30, just because they got hot at the right time and then just sort of went off in terms of their scoring. But I think it is one where it's hard, especially like we talk about for teams on the road, right? Yes, Oklahoma has that road win at Arkansas. But even in that game, I mean, they weren't really finding their rhythm offensively. And I think that's not a surprise in this league. Like I said, they scored 62 at Georgia, 65 at Arkansas, 68 at A&M, only scored 70 at Auburn. So I think it's kind of that same thing. And to me, we've mentioned Missouri's ability just to force turnovers and disrupt your offense. And I think that's certainly something that I'm looking at here. If Missouri can just do that, put that pressure on Fears and just really get Oklahoma out of a rhythm early, the numbers do kind of tell us that Oklahoma may struggle to make shots consistently in this kind of setting, and especially if you have a team that guards the way Missouri does in this spot.
Yeah, it's pretty simple for me when I'm looking at Oklahoma's offense versus Missouri's defense. Jeremiah Fears, as special as he is, he's run into a little bit of a efficiency rut here in conference play. Past 3 games, he's had more turnovers than assists each of the past 3. It hasn't come against Tennessee, Auburn, and Vanderbilt. 3 defenses that are going to make you do that. But here's another one in Missouri. So it doesn't get any easier. And I think Missouri's going to be able to do some things there. The other thing I'm looking at here for Oklahoma is it's really as simple as, does your first shot go in? Because they're not getting another chance, and they're probably going to turn it over around 19, 20-ish percent of possessions based on trends and numbers. So when you don't turn it over and you get that open look, do you hit that open look and you silence the crowd and you keep it within single digits and you hang around, and then with an offense like the Sooners, you hang around long enough, you're down by 5, 2 possessions later, you're up by 1. They're the team that can do that. I think it's just really as simple as, is this a good shooting night for Oklahoma? Because if it's not, they're not getting the extra chance, and they're already kind of disadvantaged with the turnover battle.
All right, picks.
It kind of scares me how confident I am in Mizzou, given that this is going to be a single-digit spread. I don't like it. I don't like how confident I am because this is the SEC, and we've seen crazier things happen. The home win percentage is under 60%. Pretty much been a coin flip so far. I don't like how confident I am, but I am. So I'm going Mizzou.
Yeah, I think this is one where, like we said, if you just play the trends, Missouri has been so good at home this season. They're coming off their first home loss of the year against just a completely sort of different team in Texas A&M. I think this, the way they play is much different from Oklahoma, and I think this is one where, we talk about Missouri's ability to make threes, get to the free throw line, and I think in a home setting like this, I do feel like that's probably the difference. Whereas, can you bank on the road team? Or do you have more confidence in the road team being able to pull off that combination better? And I don't. So I'm gonna pick Missouri in this one too. All right, we get to the last game, which is LSU at Arkansas, the rematch on ESPN2, 8 p.m. Central. The Hogs looking for a little revenge after they lost that game in Baton Rouge. And really, if you think about it, Max, that was the one where we thought, all right, it's all over for Arkansas. That was where they dropped to 0-4. Then they dropped to 0-5 after the loss at Missouri. But here come the Hogs. The Hogs are sitting here now at 3-7. They dropped that game against Alabama, but you could probably argue there aren't many teams out there that have played as well as Arkansas over the past 3 games. And I think now they head into a game against an LSU team that came that close, like we said, to beating Ole Miss. You don't know what that could do for your confidence, but you also, Max, I think have to question what does it do for your confidence when you lose a game like that, where they
Mm-hmm.
had it, should have won, and you're already a team that was struggling to find ways to stay even competitive in some of these games. We mentioned the Texas game, lost by 19 at Georgia. Um, to me, like, let's just call it what it is. This seems like, and I know LSU won the first matchup, but this seems like the ultimate brutal scenario for the Tigers going on the road in this game to play a red hot Arkansas team after basically feeling like you gave away a game at home that not necessarily would have turned around your season, but would have given you some sort of confidence when you've just been begging for it for the past little bit.
Might be like the whatever word you want to call it, worst, most obvious. Talking about the spot here.
Yeah.
I've seen all season. I mean, it is the stars have aligned for the Hogs at home. And when you look at the matchup a little bit, I think they have a lot they could take advantage of. And I haven't said his name in a while because he's been out the whole year. But this is a game where Adu Thero can really take advantage of Jalen Reed being out. You're going to be going against the freshman Corey Chest, who, while he's a great rebounder, he struggles with fouls. He struggles staying on the court. And he is a freshman going against Adu Thero, who's ready for the NBA today. So I think there's a front court advantage, and that's big because we're talking about Arkansas, obviously without Boogie, and you've got Victorious Miller back in action for LSU. So you would think, hey, can we get an edge here in the front court, a sizable one, because Cam Carter is really good, and we're already down our point guard. Yes, I think you do. Big time front court advantage here for the Hogs.
Big difference in the first game, I think, than what you're going to see in this one. For starters, LSU shot 28 free throws in the first game. I don't necessarily see that happening here. Victorious Miller did not play in that first game, but his minutes have kind of been up and down, as we talked about. It was a Cam Carter showing, 27 points in that one in 36 minutes. Jordan Sears had 17. From the Arkansas standpoint, yes, Boogie Flan had 19, but here I think is the most interesting part of this thing. Big Z, 0 points, 2 fouls in 7 minutes. We've come a long way since then because Big Z has been on an absolute tear recently, coming off of, I think, certainly his best game of the season, 27 points in 31 minutes against Alabama. And so he wasn't even a factor at all in that first game. And something else, too, that I think sort of stood out. Arkansas had 17 offensive rebounds in that game. Arkansas is not a great offensive rebounding team. And I think getting Big Z now more involved, I think that is certainly going to play a big role if this team were to make a run and make the NCAA tournament. Still got a ways to go before we get there. And I don't even know how much a win like this would do for them for that purpose. But I think that the improvement of Big Z in terms of his spot in the rotation, we've mentioned there's another guy who has seemed to figure it out, and that's John L. Davis, who has had 4, I think, very good games in a row. I just think this is a different Arkansas team than it was, legitimately a month ago now. And I just, when you're looking at the matchup, you said it, I probably this is top 3 like spot game where it's just like, yep. How on earth could you find sort of a better scenario for Arkansas here, just given all the elements in play? So we'll go into picks, Max. I think we both know obviously where we're going, but.
Yeah, one of the rare times where Arkansas also doesn't have the age disadvantage. Last game, LSU played 5 different freshmen. I'm not sure if there's another SEC team that's done that. But Arkansas doesn't have the age disadvantage. They're at home. Great spot. I think the Hogs roll here. I'd like to see what that spread ends up at. But if it's not too far out there, I like it.
If it's single digits, I might be, almost too confident in this one. Which again, I'm so confident in a game where the other team has already beaten that team this season. But it's a different Arkansas team than it was a month ago. I'd be surprised if they come out and sort of play to the level they did in that first game in Baton Rouge. So, yes, give me the Hogs here on this one too. All right, speaking of NCAA tournament, hey, remember, if you want to get in on the action of the NCAA tournament, head to our friends at BRACKETBIDS because we know BRACKETBIDS, a tremendous resource. We've talked about it. And again, you can kind of take your experience to the next level. They have that free pick'em contest, or you can start that auction draft league we keep talking about with friends, family, or coworkers. You all start with the same bidding dollars, but you get to outwit and outbid your league mates to secure the teams you think will go the distance. And remember, you get to choose from multiple scoring models, get those upset bonuses to reward bold picks. You can track your teams with live in-game scoring and watch the standings shift in real time. Further you advance, the higher you climb the standings. For league play, use that promo code SC16 for 40% off. SC16, 40% off. Download the BracketBids app today or visit them at bracketbids.com. All right, guys, we appreciate you watching. We'll have all the reaction, everything, of course, for the games on Wednesday. Hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and thanks again for watching, and we'll talk to you soon at Southeastern 16.